Well, g'day, I'm back to doing a little bit of commentated videos again. Basically today you can just sort of see what the training was in the background. I'm just going to have a bit of a talk about it, about what sort of was happening, and what my thoughts were really in starting the new training cycle. So basically, after I came back from Worlds, I was doing some pretty light stuff from one of the Russian guys, but it just wasn't really me. It wasn't really what I thrive on doing and enjoy doing, which is lifting, heavy and lifting fairly heavy fairly often. So I've decided to sort of go my own way, and on Monday I had started a program, but I've always wanted to try this Bulgarian method. So Tuesday I started my program. So you can see here, coming into Wednesday, basically I'm doing morning sessions with my squats and working up to a daily single. I wouldn't really call it a max single, but it's a pretty heavy single, basically to an RP of 9 without any sort of mental rev up, and then I'm going to drop down and do some drop sets. Sometimes it will be one set like it has been this week, but as I get more adjusted to the program I'm going to be doing a few more. So basically around about 220 is probably what you'll expect to see most mornings. If I'm feeling good I'll go heavier, if I'm feeling bad I may go lighter, but generally around about that 220 mark will be where I sit. So the first few days of this have been pretty good really, and if you're wondering where I got my inspiration to do this, I kind of saw an article on T Nation a few years back and sort of just has always been on my mind to give it a crack, and I figured now is as good a time as ever to give it a go. So I've jumped on board that article in conjunction with a book I've been reading recently by Matt Perryman called Squat Every Day. Basically has a huge challenge to the views of overtraining and basically any of that sort of stuff in lifting the heavy weights. I'll also be training my other lifts, so during these weekly summaries you'll probably see a few sumo deads and maybe a few bench presses and things thrown in there, because I'm going to be training those other lifts. So basically most weekday mornings is when I'll do my single squats followed by the drop sets, and then I'll still train my bench pretty much normal throughout this program, but my deadlifts I'll probably try and stick a little bit lighter and a little bit more technique, but they will end up being a little bit heavier still, because I'll probably move them to the Friday, so that at the end of the heavy week, so if I do go a little bit heavier it shouldn't interfere too much with my squatting. So you can see here on the Friday I was actually feeling pretty good this morning, even though getting up was pretty hard. Once I got into the work I actually felt pretty good and managed to pump out a little bit heavier single than the previous days. So basically this is really a bit of an experiment for me to see how I go with these singles, how I go with basically increased intensity but lowered volume and doing it really frequently. So some would call it a Bulgarian style of training. I don't really know if that's necessarily true, but basically it's that sort of style where there's heavy weights lifted frequently, practicing under those weights and hopefully improving technique as I do that. Now you probably notice my bench is a wee bit down from where it has been in the past, but that's probably to do with that really light stuff I did when I came back. So it's a little bit lighter than it has been, but it'll come back, and I'm pretty confident that the bench will still be there, just something to work on and focus on, and I may need to change my plans a little bit to incorporate a bit of extra bench work. Since these squats will be at a different time, they can have a bit more of a focus, which will be quite nice. So far, after doing basically 4 consecutive days of squats, we missed the Monday of training this week because of basically we had the NZPF training camp, which was really good, so well done NZPF for putting that initiative forward. It worked really well and it was good to meet up with a few more of those lifters, but basically that wrote off the Monday after helping at the NZPF Nationals. So I've come back and started training from Tuesday, but next week the daily singles will be 5 days per week, so Monday to Friday, and then basically the other work will be around that. Generally those will be in the morning and the rest of this work will be in the afternoon. So it's going to be an interesting few weeks, and it'll be cool to see how this daily squats work. Really hope to be able to push that squat really far and have something pretty big in terms of a PB for those squats at the Raw Nationals at the end of September.